Okay, wow. Great to see you all here. And welcome here to launch of Responsibility Design Manifesto. You are so many here and also online. You are warmly welcome. My name is Tarja-Kaarina Laamanen, and I'm responsibility specialist. I've had the privilege of working with Responsibility Circle at Ornamo. We've had a really intensive work with this manifesto. Last year has been truly great. I want to thank you, the whole group. Okay, let's look at our program briefly. Soon we will hear the opening words by Katja Soini, chair of the Ornamo board. Then an introduction to the Ornamo Responsibility Circle will be provided by Milja Havusela and Anna Kokki. After that, Angelos Arnis will give us a keynote about the core topic of this event, the manifesto. And the program ends with the panel discussion, moderated by Zeynep Falay von Flittner and panelists Idir Kasilusoi, Emma Berg, Linda Vanni and Sauli Laitinen. After the panel, you, the audience, have the possibility to ask questions from the moderator, panelists and composers of the manifesto. Okay then, let's start and welcome Katja Soini to the stage.
Thank you, and hello everybody. It's truly a pleasure to be here and welcome again. Some words from my part and how I see what we have been doing. I think this work, what we are presenting today, is really, really important. Just some things and some thoughts behind it. When I think of design, I think that design is something that is always kind of embedded in society, and we always have kind of a role in society. And if we go a bit back, like 100 years ago or something, a little bit more, Ornamo was established in 1911. And since then, I think we have been working to kind of contribute to the society, to the betterment of the world. And if we start from the beginning, I think what we were doing was that we kind of helped to frame or to create the Finnish national identity. Here's an example from the railway station, the Helsinki railway station. And as you know, at that point when we designed something, it was the whole building, the interior, the furniture, lighting and everything. And that was a style of that. And it was really, really important part of Finnish society, Finnish identity, before we were even independent. And then after the wars, we had to reconstruct the society. And we also built the industrial identity. And it was the golden era of Finnish design. Everybody knows the Finnish design. It goes back to that in the 50s or 60s or around that time. And here you know that what I'm presenting here, it's Kai Frank's Kilta tableware, or Teema, as it's called nowadays. And they are still something that we really well know. They are part of our lives and our everyday lives. In the 1990s, there was a recession, which was really, really bad, great recession, and we had to go through a really big industrial restructuring. If we had earlier on built the industrial identity, then almost all the industrial manufacturing was kind of moved abroad. And it was a big change in Finnish society. And what we started to do in design was we started to look at user needs. We started to do user-inspired design, user-centered design, a little bit like digital design and so on, and also a bit more international business. It was a big change also. And to jump today, this day that we are standing here is that we talk about many different big things that we are facing. If we look outside, we know that everything is not okay. It shouldn't be +3 or something in end of January, and it's serious. United Nations talks about triple crisis. So we have climate change, we have biodiversity loss, we have pollution, and all of that is affecting our lives. Last year was actually the first year that we exceeded the 1.5 degrees above the 1.5 degrees before pre-industrial era, and it's only happening again and again. That's what we can experience. So these are serious things. If we look at the World Economic Forum risks report from this month, there was also some things they were talking about misinformation and disinformation. They were talking about social polarization. They were talking about geopolitical instability. So there are so many things happening that are affecting our lives. In my day work, I'm working at AFRY, which is one of the largest engineering and expert companies or consultancies in Finland. I'm a strategy and sustainability director. And it's been really interesting to follow and look at our clients during the past years. I think it was maybe 2, 3, 4 years back. I think many clients were like saying when I started to talk about sustainability, they were like, yeah, maybe somebody else is doing that. Maybe somebody else is buying or have to pay for the whole thing. But it was actually last year we did a big client survey or client research, and we learned that now they are kind of holding their hands in front and saying, please tell me what's your solution. It's really a huge change that is happening. So there's a lot of demand that we are seeing. And when we are talking about design, I think what is really important at these times is that we have hope. I think design is bringing hope. This is something that we need, definitely. And I start from our strategy that we have been updating at Ornamo. There are some words down there, but what we believe is that designers are the drivers for change, for sustainability. And this is really important that we can see ourselves like that. We have to take that kind of position and stance and role, and we can innovate with others solutions that in this resource or more resource-wise society. And this is something we are working for at Ornamo. And we really are interested, kind of happy about this, what we are talking today, because this is exactly what should be happening. We also published was it this week or something, the Ornamo study towards tangibility, which is presenting drivers and challenges for sustainability and sustainability transformation. But it also presented skills that we designers have already or we should have. So there are really kind of tangible tools how we can go on and do this, make this happen, the magic happen that we have to make it today. And going to this day, this moment, I think the most interesting thing in the end is all of you, all of us here, because we are the people who are making it. And this Ornamo Responsibility Design Manifesto is exactly that. It's a call for collective action. All of us can do something. I can do as a leader, but if you're a designer, designing products, digital solutions, interiors, organizations, materials, whatever, you can apply that thinking. You can start exploring, learning, trying out, and make change happen. And I really encourage everybody to be brave in this journey. I think it's really, really important. Before we continue, I really would like to thank all the good work that you have been doing in the Responsibility Circle. And Tarja-Kaarina, thank you very much. And all of you who have been working for this. And all of you who are coming here today and taking your time and really wanting to learn, because I believe that's why we are here. We want to learn and we want to make an impact. So, all my best to this, whatever we are doing together. Let's make it happen. Let's be brave. Let's do it together. Thank you.
Okay, then please welcome Milja Havusela and Anna Kokki for presenting Ornamo Responsibility Circle.
Hello from my behalf as well. Nice to see you all here. And with Milja, we will tell a little bit about the Responsibility Circle, what it is, and what we do in this group. But first, we shortly introduce ourselves. So, I'm Anna Kokki. I work as a freelance designer at the moment. And I'm studying for my second master's degree in urban studies and planning. And this group was created when, back in 23, I asked from Ornamo that is it possible to have this kind of peer groups in Ornamo. I was working with a grant a lot times alone, and I was kind of missing other people to talk about these things. And it was possible, and Milja was one of the people who joined me in starting this group, actually.
Hi everyone. My name is Milja Havusela, and I'm also a designer. I have mainly worked within footwear, health, sports segments. I've been doing also some UI UX design and very passionate about all things sustainable. And when I saw Anna looking for people to join this group, I thought that, hey, this is exactly what's been missing from my career, from my sort of group. I needed to have a community where I can share the ideas, and this was spot on. A little bit about Ornamo. I think that Katja did such a wonderful presentation that this slide will just skim through fast. But I think it's nice to know that Ornamo is sort of the umbrella under which we work. And there's 3,000 members. It's our community. It gives us this advocacy, and it's advance in the design industry. And I think it's a great organization to belong to. In Ornamo, luckily, we are allowed to create these groups. And you can see a list here, which seems to be ever growing. There's new interest groups forming. And these interest groups are based on volunteers. So, such as us, we are volunteering to do this on our own time. And it's been super rewarding to be a part of. You can see loads of different kinds, because Ornamo speaks to a wide range of different kinds of industries and different kinds of designers. So different groups are needed. So all members can initiate those, and they are run by the volunteers. But then we have people such as Tarja-Kaarina who are helping us facilitate and hosting all these things. So what is Ornamo Responsibility Circle? We are a bunch of very versatile, very diverse people. Some of us I have just met live here today the first time. Not many of us knew each other since we started, but we have gotten to know each other, and we have realized that actually, a lot of the things and the struggles that we have, they're the same, regardless of which industry you are in. We talk about the same struggles and same topics. Some of us are seasoned professionals, some of us are young, emerging, some of us are studying, But what we share is this need to come together, to share ideas, to share, different sort of ideas around this, and work together to build these things. We have about 30 members currently, and hoping that we'll get much more, because I think that there is power when there's lots of different kinds of people talking together. And by the way, we do this in English because we want to make sure that there is a diversity in the group. So even if you're not very familiar with Finnish, then don't be shy. Come and let's connect. So why? I think that I spoke a lot about already that sort of need that you might have your colleagues, you might have teams that you work in, but sometimes as a designer, at least I have felt that it can be quite lonely to try to push these agendas. I feel like we often are the ones having to drive it, and it can be very lonely. So it's nice to come together, share sometimes just the frustrations, that's good as well, to have a place for that, but also to share these best practices, share ideas, find out together what it is that we don't yet know. What could we know? How could we learn? Who could we ask? We work very organically and come up with the topics ourselves. So I think it's been very rewarding to be able to work on these topics. And I think that it's such a great thing today to be presenting the manifesto that we've all been working very hard on. And I look forward to hearing after this presentation what it is that you think about all this. This is about coming together, same as Katja said. This is not about any one of us alone. It's about us doing it together. So I hope that we have nice conversations after this.
We asked in our chat from the members why they have joined, and I will read few of these now. I'm in this group because it is impossible to change things by oneself. We need collaboration across industries. It was important to connect with like-minded designers who want to actively shape the design discipline. I find groups such as these important for peer support, sharing knowledge, and establishing a united front for facilitating change. ORC serves as a forum to collectively make sense of the systemic challenges and a platform for collaboration towards sustainable practices step by step. Having a way to contribute, learn more, and find strength in numbers outside your day-to-day work made me join and continue. I can develop my skills in these topics further and educate myself on how others approach this topic in their daily work. I think these show well what we have been talking here. There are different reasons to join, and but there is this one thing that comes that it's important to also kind of think together. The group has been working about 1.5 years. We've had different kinds of events. We have more like sharing knowledge, having presentations and case studies, and then more relaxed after work gatherings. And for this spring, we are planning to have a company meeting with NEMAR, job hunting and responsibility themed evening for the members, 3 Horizons workshop, and also a manifesto workshop for all who have signed. And these events show up in the Ornamo event calendar. So how to join? All Ornamo members can join at any time. You just need to be interested on the topic. We have we have our channels to follow discussion and to organize. And as Milja said, it's been quite organic, and we are developing, and we are open for ideas how to also make it better. And but as this is volunteer work, resources are different, and so you can always come to events, take part in discussions, or if you have more time, become an active member and initiate events together with others. So I welcome everyone to the group, and I hope look forward to the discussions tonight and in the future. Next, we will hear more about the manifesto, which is very exciting, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Please welcome Angelos Arnis to present our keynote about Manifesto.
Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for being here today. We were just discussing just before we started that kind of like, this has been a lot of work between the group. And of course, as Anna just mentioned, it's been voluntary work, of course. So we do this not because there's some sort of like, monetary gain or anything like that, but it's something that we deeply care about. And it's so nice to see all of you also coming here today and sort of, care about, to listen to what we say at least, and hopefully become part of this, by joining later on. We're going to talk also about, how can you help. So this was the team. We sort of mentioned this already, but that was me here, Anna and Milja, you just saw Adi over there, and Tarja-Kaarina, who also helped us with pretty much everything that was also like, operational. So thanks for that, and kind of like, being able to present this also, for example, to the board and get the board's approval. Like it was a really, really good process and a lot of like learnings. So let's start with a story first. This is how I like to start usually presenting, but this story also connects very well to our topic today, responsible design and sustainability. So in 1972, a team of MIT scientists, young MIT scientists, made a prediction that would shake the world as we know it, and especially the economic world as well. So they warned that unlimited growth on a finite planet would lead to collapse by the mid-21st century. Led by Dana Meadows, a brilliant systems thinker, the team combined cutting-edge computer modeling and environmental science to create the first global sustainability study of its kind. The result of that was the groundbreaking work that was called The Limits to Growth, a book and a study that was published, and it was bought by 30 million people, 30 copies sold at the launch of the event. And it also sort of like, helped to launch a global environmental movement that we might know it also as today. So they used this revolutionary approach called systems dynamics, and they used also MIT's most advanced computers to create this model called World 3, which basically this model simulated a lot of different interconnectedness between population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion. And what's interesting when they shared this kind of like a response and when they shared the studies and everything else, basically the response was laughter. They laughed at them, they told them that they were crazy, and they told them, let the adults handle the economy. Well, we know that the adults sort of didn't know what they were doing now. And basically, despite this fierce opposition from industry and from economists, their central message is quite prescient today, as we all kind of like, stand here in the midst of environmental challenges and quite frankly, climate emergency. So today we face this, what we call polycrisis. We talked about 3 different crises and so on. It's also called polycrisis. There's also meta-crisis. There's a lot of different crises going on. But Dana's vision for sustainable future shows us that this kind of work that we are also trying to do here is more relevant than ever. Her works remind us that the future doesn't have to be exactly what it is right now. We can still shape it if we sort of kind of like, come together. And we as designers, we sort of need to choose a different path if we want to kind of like, to evolve our profession to do something better. The polycrisis refers to simultaneous occurrence of different kinds of interconnected crises that they're interlinked together as well. How many of you have not heard the term polycrisis before? It looks that we are the right group here. Nice, no one has not heard it. Okay, good. But let's draw it a little bit in our heads so that we have all kind of like, we are grounded in the same space together. So a pandemic strikes, for example, while climate change worsens. While we try to recover from the pandemic, economic recession hits during a period of geopolitical turmoil. Food shortages occur alongside energy crises. Climate emergency causes droughts, leading to more food shortages. Food shortages cause political unrest. Political unrest makes it harder to address climate change. And so it appears, again, that once more than ever, we as designers, we sort of need to think how we do things, and we need to sort of shape the profession in a way that it's going to be more fit for the future. And so what we sort of define it is kind of like, as responsible design. Responsible design is an ethical approach that harnesses design's transformative power to benefit the planet, society, and future generations, while actively preventing harm, ensuring that outcomes are not only functional, but also regenerative and equitable across all scales of impact. Just as Dana and her team showed us that with their work that things can be different and we can change course, we are now asked to redefine what it means to be a designer in the planetary emergency. So we need a shift in how we view our role. When we understand that 80% of products' ecological footprint can be calculated and possibly avoided during the design phase, we now more than ever understand that we're not simply creators. We can actually, influence the future of products, but also not only products and services. We can go beyond that. And so why do we need a manifesto? In order to do what we want to do, we need more than good intentions. We need a clear foundation and trajectory so that we can come together for collective action as designers. And this manifesto can be seen as sort of like a compass. It's not kind of like, a golden book that's going to show you how to revolutionize everything, but it's a compass, and it becomes a positive force for you to sort of kind of like, inspire yourself, come together with others, and do something. It unites us. There's sort of like, certain values and principles so that we can all together, do something about not only the climate crisis, but everything else. But we cannot do this alone. Design is only part of the puzzle. We speak to people like designers, of course, because designers are us, first of all. All kinds of designers, new designers, older designers, older meaning kind of like, designers who've been here for a long time. But also multidisciplinary professionals, organizations that want to shape and change stuff in business, for example, not stay into the business as usual course. We also need educators because they're currently shaping the future creators as well. And we also need to speak to policymakers because they are shaping the future policies that we actually need in order to affect change. So this call to action is for all of them, but also for the broader society, because the broader society is also a stakeholder in the design process, and we have to take them into account as well. And we hope that they can also receive, in one way or another, this message. So at the heart of the responsible design, and the manifesto that we're here today to talk about is the commitment to certain principles. And those principles were woven together by our team here. I would like to think that it was a kind of like, a really diverse team of people and professionals and from kind of like, different backgrounds. And it gave us a lot of like, different kinds of perspective when we were doing this sort of work. And so we start with the first principle, that is we reimagine. And we believe that the time has come to radically rethink our creative process, moving beyond just immediate needs, but also nurturing the thriving for planet and our society. We need to embed regeneration into our daily practice, creating systems that give more than they take. And this reimagining has to push us past conventional metrics, but also conventional sustainability towards restoration. We steward As designers, we need to embrace our role as responsible makers, infusing every project with care and with foresight. Our stewardship means taking responsibility not just for the immediate outcomes, but for the long-term impact and change that we want to bring. We cultivate. Like skilled gardeners, we must nurture ideas that grow into regenerative solutions. Our practice must involve carefully tending to the health of both social and ecological systems, fostering resilient communities that can thrive in changing times. We should understand that meaningful growth requires patience, care, and deep understanding and connection to the systems that we are part of. We educate. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. Through education, we have to build collective action, wisdom to inspire future generations, to embrace responsible design themselves. We must strive to create tools that will help them and empower them to join this movement as well, and to be part of it and help change it as well. And we demand, it's past time already for half-assed measures. We need to demand systemic change right now. And we need to push for bold policy action in real corporate responsibility. Our call for circular systems and regenerative practices isn't just a demand, it's a requirement for a livable future. And lastly, we act. Words must become action. We commit to moving decisively, understanding that in the meantime, even sometimes not acting is as bold as acting. Understanding what to not design is actually as important as designing. And our principles focus on creating something that is hopefully actionable and positive change for the world. We lead by example, and responsible design, again, isn't just possible, it's essential. And so at this time, while you have seen all these principles, I would like to invite you all to be part of the future. So today you have the opportunity to do this. So by signing this manifesto, you're joining the movement, you're joining the team, the movement. You become part of the creators that want to shape the future. Your signature isn't just a mark on the page. It's sort of kind of like, commitment that kind of like, this is actually who you want to be as well. You can scan the QR code. You can choose whether or not you will be anonymous or eponymous in that form that you will see there. You have the opportunity to, for example, either put your real name or just say that I'm a designer in this sort of industry. And that is okay as well. We understand if people might be in a position where they cannot share their real name, but they still want to be part of this. It's really important to have kind of like, the numbers as well, so that we can show that, hey, this is actually something that quite a lot of people, connect to. So, yes, please take your time. Scan the QR code, go to the webpage and fill this form. And I would like to thank you again from our team also and personally for coming here today.
Test. Okay, do we start? Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to this exciting panel discussion as part of the launch of this Responsible Design Manifesto. My name is Zeynep Falay von Flittner. I'm a transition designer and the founder of Falay Transition Design Collective. We are working towards accelerating the sustainability transitions. So this topic today is very close to my heart, and I feel very privileged to have this position as a moderator. And I'm here with very special panelists. Thank you so much being here. I will be introducing them soon, and we will together unpack what we just heard and what are the challenges and opportunities ahead with this type of manifesto. And then
we have a bit around half an hour, and there will be also after that opportunity to ask questions to them. And also we will invite the team who designed this manifesto, so you can also ask questions for them. All right, let's start. I think this is a very special moment to be in this, to discuss how design can shape regenerative futures. And we have first panelist İdil Gazi Ulusoy, who is a sustainability scientist and design researcher and professor of sustainable design at Aalto University and leader of the Nodus Sustainable Design Research Group, and she's the director of Creative Sustainability Master's Program. So a lot of qualifications, and I think you're raising a lot of people in this room having this type of visions and courage. So did you have any initial responses to what you heard today?
Thank you so much, Zeynep, and for the great introduction. I'm a little bit embarrassed with carrying so many hats. Well, I'm really happy that there is a Responsible Design Manifesto in Finland, and also, of course, realizing that some of our creative sustainability alumni has also worked on it. It's a I think big pride for us as educators to see this. I'm very excited. I think this is fantastic. But my rebel also researcher hat wants something even more radical. So I'm assuming this is a living document, and I kind of want to see a bit more radical wording here. It's already quite motivating and mobilizing, but yeah, it's just me coming from, you know, my researcher hat, a bit more radical. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we will dive deeper, I guess, what else can happen next, but it's really amazing work, and I have to admit that when I was listening all the speeches before, I got really emotional, like this a key milestone in Finland after all this designers imagining this national identity, and now we are imagining the future of Finland with as leaders, so that's really empowering. Our next panelist, Sauli, you are head of design at Vaisala, and you are also received the award, Ornamo Award this year on behalf of your team as the Design Utilizer Prize of Ornamo. So, and you were mentioning that Vaisala's purpose is taking every measure for the planet, and your team is utilizing design to enable that. Welcome, and did you have any initial thoughts on this manifesto?
Yeah, thank you. My initial thought about this manifesto when I heard about this was that I wish this would have come out earlier. I think it was about 2019 when we first time got together with our sustainability manager and started to think that how in the earth do we embedded sustainability into design thinking and the early concepting, and having something like this to back our thinking already back then would have been great, but it's never too late, so great work and great start.
I agree. Better late than never, so it's now the time. And Emma, you are the service designer and energy expert in City of Helsinki, and you worked around 6 years in this energy transition context and as part of Urban Environment Division, and you're active in this community as well as other communities. Welcome, and do you want to say something also?
Thank you, Zeynep. Oh yeah, the manifesto, I was sort of on the outer ring of the manifesto team, so I read it in between. And maybe if Idil said I want it more radical, I was just like, whoa, there is like regeneration in there. I was happy, and as a gardener, I was happy with all the gardening metaphors, personally. But I've been working in this field for quite a long time, and it has felt a bit lonely, and that's why all these communities are super important. So I'm super proud that this has come out now, even though, like you said, like it could have come out earlier, but like even now it's still like it's a good accomplishment, and like Idil said, like this is where we start, and let's move on together, like Katja said in the beginning.
Thank you. And Linda, you are service designer in Metsähallitus, Parks and Wildlife Finland Services, developing digital services, customer experience, and also working with this organizational maturity in that design maturity in the organization. You're a fresh member of Ornamo board, like myself, so we are very excited to collaborate this year together, and also, like Sauli, one of the receivers of the Ornamo award last year. So what was your initial thoughts?
Well, I think I agree that it was about time to have this, but I think, I have been in the industry of design for about 10 years, and I think, just like this would not have necessarily been possible 10 years ago. So even just like in such a short amount of time, actually, the atmosphere has really changed, and I think the time is really ripe for this. And then, together with the sustainability research that was just published this week by Ornamo, I think, like these combined, these two documents can really, just like help us understand what sustainability really means in the context of design. So really well done, whole group.
Okay, let's start with a little bit unpacking what this could mean. And maybe again, I go back to Idil, but please jump in and let me know if you have any additional thoughts, so we don't need to go one by one. So you've been educating a lot of designers and observing and working with the value of design for transformation. So what do you think could be the impact of this type of manifesto? And especially this has been organized as a volunteer capacity by the people who feel the pain and step up to take an action. How do you feel?
Great question, thank you. Manifestos are always prepared by volunteering people who are passionate about a cause. So in that sense, I do think that people taking time from their, we're talking about people with full-time jobs. So after that, people take time from their free time, potentially from their family, social life. It's a lot of giving from the self, and of course it pays off. And manifestos are quite significant in cultural change, and they're always put out by a group of people who believe in a cause, and the motivation is to mobilize. So in that sense, a manifesto being out, I mean, I see this as a particular genre, and choosing a particular genre of communication already makes a statement that we believe in this, we want you to join us. So in that sense, I think having a responsible design manifesto in Finland is amazing, and I do think it has the power to bring people together around the notion of responsibility. It can be understood in multiple different ways, but the important thing is also to have this as a discussion, to have discussions around it. So in that sense, it can create a lot of momentum towards thinking and acting in relation to sustainability.
Thank you. So we are starting movement here, basically. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think Idil said the right word, but I was thinking about like communication. It's also this like commitment that we make, and when we make like a bold commitment, then it's easier for those who are a bit like hesitating and we're like, okay, is this just me? Is it just me who is frustrated, or is it somebody else too? Then it's easier to create these communities as well when we have this object and this kind of like a thing to promote and a thing to communicate as well. From Ornamo's side as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also about creating hope, because, as a designer, like working in a small team in a big organization, it's sometimes, very easy to be overwhelmed by all of these, like, or like the public crisis and all of these kind of like pressing challenges. And you might feel, as a designer that there's so little that you can, contribute to. But, like, I think that we need these sort of manifestos and these sort of like groups, communities, documents that really, like verbalize, what are kind of like, provide like a backbone for us that we can go back to and, just like kind of like remind ourselves that, okay, this is our purpose as designers and this is why we do it. Not just the what we do, but why we do it.
I think this can be also a really practical tool in the daily work. And reminds me about when we started to market and advertise user-centric design and usability at Vaisala some time ago. And back then, usability was kind of fuzzy goal. Everybody thought that we should just be making our products somehow more user-friendly. And that wasn't always popular because it was fuzzy, and then people thought that it's not that important because we are making B2B products. So we were in a bit of trouble without having a good definition of what we are after. But what we did back then was that we went to the library and took the ISO organization definition book and borrowed the definition of usability. It's about efficiency, efficacy, and pleasure of use. And when it became concrete, it was put to pieces that what that is all about. It made it so much easier to start marketing it. And then it became our mantra that these were the three things that we were and we are doing. And now with this kind of manifesto, I see there's an opportunity for helping to make it concrete and something that we can start educating and repeating all the time. So basically helping the daily work.
Excellent comments. Thank you. Yes, I definitely agreed to build a common language and alignment in order to mobilize larger groups into the same direction. And these groups are not in these organizational silos separately, but cross-organization, cross-public sector, private sector. I think it's really, really important. But we can continue maybe with you, Sauli, and I want a little bit challenge here. Even though I'm so passionate about this topic, I also know the realities of the current design industry. And coming from the business side, do you think, can really designers challenge the dominant paradigm in the business context? Like, are we servicing the briefs that are coming from other actors, or do we have the agency to define actually what will be done?
Yes, I think that we can have the agency, and we have some good examples as the design community in the past that we have done something similar. Katja had the timeline there earlier, and I would say that in the past there has been at least 2 occasions where we have done something big like this. And one example is the design thinking movement. And what that did was that it took business, technology, and end user point of views and combined those in a way that achieves more than none of these areas can achieve on their own. So combining different point of views, bringing them together, giving them tools to achieve bigger things was a big change that the designers impacted other areas than design. Another example that could have been on the timeline as well was the service design. I think that in the past, people had difficulties designing better services because services were thought to be something fuzzy, owned by many people, not anyone owning the complete service by themselves. So how can you start acting if something is fuzzy and you don't own it fully? But then the service design came and made it concrete what the service are all about, made it possible for the different stakeholders to participate in the development work. And this way, again, having bigger impact than anyone could have on their own. And now, in the case of sustainability, the stakes are higher and the thing is more important than just getting the business and technology on board with the users or designing the services. But I would say, and I would argue, that the change and the tools are pretty much similar. So we have examples in the past that we can do this. Why couldn't we do it this time as well?
Thank you. Any other panelists wants to comment?
Sorry. Well, in companies that I work with, it's always the designers who are pushing or trying to push the agenda. towards transformation. So in that sense, I mean, the question of whether designers can have agency is important, but also we do take agency in our hands, and then, you know, we have agency. What we do with it is a little bit up to us. And I'm seeing that transformation agendas in companies are generally created and kind of, you know, with a lot of effort pushed forward by designers in-house. So in that sense, I do think designers can play quite important roles to create momentum for organizational change in companies.
Yeah, and I continuing from that, I think, you know, it's kind of, I mean, you know, just like looking at the timeline that Katja shown, you know, maybe even though, I mean, the context has changed and the challenges that we are facing have changed, but I think at the core of design practice is, you know, solving problems, being innovative, and, you know, just kind of like taking the resources that we have and utilizing them in the best possible way. And I think that, you know, so I think every designer should be a little bit of an activist. And also kind of like, I think that when we are, you know, developing these different ways of doing these different processes, you know, like we are actually, you know, being activists and, you know, we are taking the agency. So why not do it for the purpose of sustainability?
Yeah, I guess I I totally agree with Linda and everything that was said here. But then I also think about this like crisis and then the economic pressures that we have, and then sometimes we also talk about like creative destruction, and then I would like to think that there would be also possibilities for these like wilder ideas in some ways, because then if we have a big crisis and if we have these pressures, then we might be able to argue for different kinds of solutions than before. So I will also think that we might have other opportunities as well.
Thank you. Let's continue again with you, Emma. And what do you think are the obstacles right now for designers preventing to make more responsible decisions?
I will go back to my previous profession, because I was a product designer originally. So when Katja showed the timeline for design, I was like, oh, that's my timeline. Yeah, but that's also my timeline in some sense, because I used to work with product design and I had these frustrations and these obstacles, and I felt quite alone. That might be also because I was younger and I maybe was not so bold yet to question all the things that were brought to me, all the briefs. And then, of course, when we studied sustainability with many colleagues here and with IDIL, we learned that sustainability might often come as this like afterthought into design process at later. Like, okay, now we made this product, how do we make it sustainable? Even though we should actually be questioning, okay, what is this product? Should it be a product? And when I was a product designer, I never questioned, okay, should this Moomin mug that I am now designing be actually a service, so or something else. So it's about this like notion of design and where sustainability lies in the design process, that we should like broaden it upstream, downstream, into every direction. And then I asked this question from my colleagues at work, and then they were also talking about, of course, like the concept of economics in that sense, that, okay, what can we do if sustainable is more expensive? Like, how do we argument for this? And I see that in the building sector, it's often so, especially in the cities context, that we think about the initial investment cost, and we're like, yeah, okay, this is cheaper than that. But then in the cities context, it's quite easy to see, for example, in the energy sector, that, okay, if we make a good solution, a sustainable solution, in the end, we will end up paying less. So when we think about the whole life cycle of the product, then the argumentation becomes completely different, and then we can argument for the sustainable solutions when we think about a longer time span. So I would say that there are solutions for this, and we can argue, and we just need to be a bit bolder, and we need to like a little bit extend that timeline and see the bigger impacts.
Yeah, I agree. I think the short-termism is probably, you know, the biggest plague of all, in the sense that, of course, like, you know, coming from the corporate world, you're always thinking about, you know, the quarterly targets and, you know, maybe, you know, just like maybe a year ahead or 2 years ahead. But, you know, how about like if you actually thought like 50 years ahead and you know, just like put more thought in the whole lifespan of products and services, buildings, environments. So I think this is where we struggle. a lot, not just as designers, but as society.
So I'm hearing that we need to actually step up towards more imagining new value creation models rather than just product services and this very tangible application of design, but also bring the systemic perspective as well as maybe multi-stakeholders beyond the usual suspects and timeline. But how to do that in this current economical pressures where, design teams are being fired as a whole team because their value is not maybe prioritized? And I'm looking again to Sauli or Idil, maybe, if you want to say anything.
Yes, how to achieve then when the economic times are bad. I think that in Vaisala we might be in a bit lucky situation and in lucky position because we make services and products that help to understand and mitigate climate change. So basically, the more products that we make, the bigger impact we have on this area. For example, measuring the carbon capture as part of the industrial process, or in the renewable energy, helping to choose the sites for the wind farms, helping to optimize the operations and so on. So the better and more products we make, the better business we make. So in our case, the argumentation is really strong that with the design we help to make better products, and then the better products is better sustainability at the same time, and the better business as well. But then when thinking about the role of design in all of that, I would say that the role of design is more than just making the products better. It's about amplifying the value and the benefit that we make for the sustainability. Because in this kind of industries, for example, the carbon capture, it's quite new area of activity. So basically there are new players emerging, new job roles, new companies, new organizations emerging all the time. So with the help of service design, we can map all the stakeholders, really understanding the pains and the gains that there are, and help us to design more than just products and really make sure that the value is delivered throughout the ecosystem. So design doesn't only enable, and design and sustainability enable better business, but the design can amplify that as well. But then a third point to this topic, in my opinion, is that even if we are dealing with products that do not have direct impact on sustainability, on the climate change, for example, it has, at least in our case, often happened that good design equals good business and sustainability, all of these three at the same time. For example, last year was the first year that every designer had as their personal objective to help the company to reach the Science-Based Target Initiative, which is to halve the CO2 emissions. And when we then went through the success cases there, it was quite often the designer being able to use less material, streamline the manufacturing or the delivery chain, doing better products that are easier to maintain, are installed in the better locations and so on. So even if the products are not directly related to climate change, still good design seems to equal better business and more sustainability in all of these cases. So I would kind of rephrase that there's an opportunity here, not a challenge.
Thank you, that's great. And that brings me to my last question, and let's start with Linda. What are the opportunities, and what can we do next? This is a great start. How can we amplify the impact of this manifesto and this movement?
Yeah, I guess, we've heard already like quite many examples, or really great examples today, but, just moving from creating these isolated solutions, actually, and, just like co-creating these systemic innovations and these systemic solutions together. And for that, we need not just designers, but we need multidisciplinary, multisectoral collaboration. And but I also think that designers have they are really well equipped to handle the sustainable transitions and and advance and accelerate the transitions. So for example, we can work as designers, we can work at the strategic levels, we can work at operational levels with processes, design implementation, and we do need that sort of like bird's view, and then also kind of like making sure that the strategy is actually coming to practice because like a strategy is no good if it is not implemented. So, and then we can also like visualize, we can make these new lifestyles and new paradigm really tangible and desirable. So we do have a lot of like different skills that can be harnessed for the purpose of the sustainable transitions.
Any other comments?
Well, as an educator who has students who ask her, where do I find a job? I think one of the great opportunities is that we are educating designers with the right mindset. But we would like to make sure that they will be employed or find their own path of entrepreneurship. So I also see that, in the gathering of this kind of a momentum, a particular form of solidarity emerges. So my hope is that there are, opportunities for this generation to actually make decisions that are going to favor and help this rising generation to be employed and do the good job that they are able to do. And another opportunity I see is, following up from Linda, we need to be able to communicate what we are able to do a little bit better, because the playground of transitions is a little bit of a soft area, and claiming to be an excellent product designer has been easier because you have the products that show for that. So I think an opportunity and a challenge is to together develop vocabularies and ways to communicate clearly what is the value that we are able to contribute.
Yeah, I would like to continue. Yesterday we had a group of students come to the city of Helsinki, our big house in Kalasatama, and we were discussing like, okay, where to find jobs and what do I actually do at the city of Helsinki, and like what is useful in that, like what do I use, and I was just telling the designers there that you have a lot more skills than you understand. And for example, just being able to work with these soft or vague concepts, areas, clarify them. You understand projects, you can manage or I would like to maybe write in somebody's CV that runs excellent meetings or something like this, that is like the skills that we don't realize that we would be just like, we would need to like somehow promote them also, because designers are these like, or I would like to think that we are sort of like these not know-it-all, but we're jack of all trades in that sense that we are quick to learn about topics. We dive really quickly into different areas, even though some people have like really like deep knowledge in some sectors. I'm more into all of them, and then I would see that designers are really like, they are eager to learn about things and they jump into projects fearlessly, and that's super valuable in this sector.
Yeah, I just want to continue real quick that I think that one of the key things for the manifesto or objectives is to really like empower designers to claim their space, claim their agency. And because I don't think that there are still, many job openings for sustainable designers, but we need to actually like reframe, from the context of our roles and within our organizations, we need to, just like make sure that, people know what we're capable of, and then also like create those jobs ourselves.
Thank you so much. And maybe I want to add last the need also to have the sponsors who understands this value and invest into this. It's, I guess, this Finnish national identity has been designed also with some sort of visionary business people who were able to invest into this new thinking. So now we are calling for that type of leaders of today to support and come on board to help with the empowerment of design and this responsible design movement. But I would love to thank you, Ornamo, to create this platform. I think this was one of the best discussions in the town today. And also all of you being here. And let's continue with some questions from the audience. And before that, maybe the designers of the manifesto can come and join us, so you can also answer if there's any questions. Thank you very much for the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have a chair, but any questions from the audience? Okay.
Thank you. And thank you for this panel discussion. It was really enlightening. And also thank you to the designers that designed this manifesto. I was reading it before, during the break. And there is a point that kind of like, I don't know, it made me think and reflect. And it's the point about responsibility. So also in this panel, we talked about young designers and sometimes struggles to find a job. And I think it's kind of the dramatic reality of many young designers. And in the responsibility section, it's written, designer must be accountable for the environmental and social impacts of their work. I don't know, I feel that especially starting a career in design, sometimes it's really hard to have an impact. And I don't know, I feel that this feeling of disillusion is very common in young designer. And it also happened in my experience, perhaps, in working for companies that were briefing or, tasking things that were not exactly environmentally friendly, but that I still did because it was a job. So I would ask anyone who would like to answer this, is it a matter of time? Is it a matter of career development? Then designer will be, or I as a designer might have more kind of power in what I do? Or is it more, again, this kind of systemic problem and issue that we are having? Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I would say that, I would call myself a seasoned designer already at this stage. And I don't think that I am yet there, ready to sort of be bold and always demand those things. But I think it's high time that we accept the fact that we are in the position of presenting at least the better ideas in the companies that we work for. I have been working for a very sort of, commercial sector. So I am well aware of the sort of obstacles, and I think that this panel here, was talking a little bit about that. But coming from this very sort of commercial product design, I think it is hard. It is hard. But I think it's also important that we have this vocabulary and we have this manifesto and we have this sort of common sort of understanding amongst us designers, young emerging designers and more seasoned ones, that, hey, we can actually be the ones to create the change, because they're asking us to create these things, aren't they? So we hold a lot of power. We can make decisions. We can at least try to present better options. Then, of course, it's up to who holds, the money chest to say that, yeah, you can't put that much money on that just because it's sustainable. But it's our, we are empowered to do so. We are empowered to at least try to present better ideas. Did you want to continue?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, because of course, kind of like, we've all been there, I guess, kind of like, starting our career. And you sort of have to balance between also kind of like, being a designer, like the designer as an identity, but also the designer as a worker, kind of like, this is why, for example, many of us are part of unions, for example, because we understand that we are workers and we understand that we sort of need to survive somehow. We need to take care of our families. We need money for that, unfortunately. So like, it comes with kind of like, what you can juggle with, let's say, kind of like, and that's why, for example, I'm assuming that many of us are here doing this voluntarily because we feel that since we cannot do it on our daily job, we can do it in a community afterwards, for example. And Edith was saying kind of like, it always somehow comes from volunteers because, in the business setting, it's very easy to obscure something behind metrics and stuff like that and say, well, sustainability is like, it's not a thing for us to discuss. But yeah, when you're young, kind of like, you cannot say no to this and no to that and no to that, because then obviously you cannot build your career. But of course, I would say, kind of like, don't go for the worst possible design job if you can afford that. Whatever that is, kind of like, I'm not going to name industries, but yeah, maybe I will. Don't go for gambling if you can, please. So yeah, I'll stop here.
But I just want to add that I think that every design job is a sustainability job, and you need to, work, within your role and, within, from the context that you're in, and find ways to make that impact. So, I mean, even if you think that, it's only like small steps, but still, there are so many different ways that you can implement this sort of like a thinking that is presented in the manifesto. So I really encourage everybody to, just like no matter what your role or sector is, to really grab.
Maybe can I add one more thing? And luckily in the product design sector, at least now we have some EU legislation that is also some forcing something, hopefully making something better. So also there is legislation that is maybe pushing us in the right direction as well.
I guess we need to channel all the creativity and talent to figure out how sustainable things can be also financially feasible, more profitable, better for, more caring, and looking the better option that people will choose anyways. Any other questions before we close this? Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious how you landed on the manifesto in the end, and if there were any other like design artifacts or like calls to action, maybe like a intervention that you were thinking of. Yeah.
Well, I believe for example, as an Ornamo Responsibility Group, we have a lot of discussions about what to do together and so on. So for example, we do have some master classes where we sort of learn things from others. One example that I do remember personally, maybe you know more, but like was having a designer who was working to make materials out of like roadside weeds that you find on the road, basically. And they were making like all kinds of different crafts. So this was like a masterclass in something that, for me at least, it made my mind thinking about like, hey, kind of like, like there's so many different resources that you can utilize. But then, for example, it's also very easy to just go and buy the expensive thing because it looks good. But then it gives me a different perspective of kind of like, how you can make valuable things out of not valuable materials. Well, sometimes because the roadside weeds that exist in the road is usually stay there to rot and kind of like, to sort of like become part of the pollution or whatever. So we have master classes and stuff like that. And I'm not sure, maybe you can say further, the rest of the team, if they have ideas of what else we're doing. But the manifesto came organically, kind of like, like one of the people said that, I want to do this, and then people were like, yeah, let's do that. So again, it wasn't like something that we were not trying to strategize what to do next, but it came organically from the team.
Did you want to continue?
Yeah. So I think making the manifesto in a way has been also for us to learn about each other, the work we do, and how we kind of put into words these thoughts we have. So I think it's been valuable in that way in the group, in the interest group, because the stuff we do comes from the members, and then we, in our organizing or planning events, we try to find who is the one who's going to make this happen and share the responsibility. So who knows what we're going to do, but I feel like that one reason of making this actually not only to communicate for others, but to communicate for ourselves and learn during the process was like important.
Yeah, I think that Anna touched a good point because I think that it has been very organic and it has sort of like grown with us and for us. But then also this was something that we wanted to kind of like have some sort of platform almost to stand on, to build on, And you know, it's been us coming together on this, but it should be all of us, and it should be, you know, people behind the screens. It shouldn't be just us doing this. I feel like this manifesto, it almost it's a, you know, strong enough word to try to, you know, reach to all of you guys, and you know, we want to hear from you as well. We want to hear your thoughts on how does this reflect. We already heard one comment, you know, thinking that, am I going to be brave enough? I think we all just, it's high time we need to be brave enough.
One last point, because I forgot to do that when I was doing the talk, is that once you are signing up, there's an option for you to opt in for future updates and stuff like that, only for the manifesto part. So at least the current plan is that for spring, we're going to have our first workshop with a wider range of people. You don't have to be part of Ornamo members to be part of this specific workshop. And the idea there is to sort of kind of like, you know, bring in people together. And as someone was saying, kind of like, you know, this is a livable document. It's something that sort of should be evolving from us. And that was the idea, kind of like, you know, it starts from Ornamo, but it doesn't have to stop in Ornamo, for example. What if the product managers union takes this and makes a version for them as well? So this is our hope as well, that kind of like, you know, it's going to proliferate others to sort of do the same thing and bring hopefully together not just designers but rest of professionals.
Thank you. I'm mindful of the time, but I think there's 2 more hands I saw. Maybe we take those and then we continue with mingling then.
Yeah, thank you. I stand up so that I see Idil as well. Good that, Milja, you mentioned being brave and bold. I also liked Idil's approach of more radicality. And in that sense, following the spirit of the manifesto, I would ask you to be brave, or even some of you, and state something that within the next 5 years, is there something that you deem radical within your organization that you would now like to start driving? Are you brave enough to mention something concrete that you now start driving?
I love this question.
I think I already committed in our previous event for promoting, because in the city of Helsinki, the big part of emissions in the past have come from district heating, and since now Helen is doing their part, then next is transportation, and transportation is much harder than district heating to get rid of. So I guess my commitment is that I will try to promote workplace cycling because it's my own passion as well. So I've been like, I will fight for this in the next 5 years, and I will try to push this.
Yeah, I think in my organization it's a little different in the way that, you know, sustainability and tackling, you know, the lack of or the degradation of biodiversity is at the very core of what my organization does. So, but I think that there is always more to be done. And then, you know, just like, finding way to reach the public, finding ways to, you know, just like really, you know, enable participation of different stakeholders to come together on these matters and think like how can we reach people to really also advance our mission. So I think that's my commitment.
Yes, and we are now in year 2 of halving the CO2 emissions of our products when they are manufactured and when those are operated. And when we have weather instruments, for example, that are operated in the cold, harsh environments, then how to cut the energy consumption to half there, for example, is a big challenge because we need to keep the instruments operational and at the same time, well, that often means using some energy. So continuing pushing the difficult challenges, how to get the best measurements and still achieve that goal. Might take a couple more years, but hopefully less than 5 to get the halving done.
For me, I am a new program director of a fantastic interdisciplinary, well-established and famous master's program. So my mission is to bring our students with both graduates of the program and also broader designers who are doing amazing work in relation to sustainability. Because as an educator, I'm working with 20, around 20 years old, and students or people at that age are very sad about what's happening to the world, and they don't feel that they have a lot of agency. And I really would like to be able to inspire them and show them that they actually have agency, and there are a lot of things that they can do out in the world. So that's what I am committed to, in addition to everything else that I'm doing.
Thank you. Do you guys want to answer? No? Maybe I can say that I'm already committing my life basically to design the future of employment, which we can only push the sustainable transformations, and maybe the dream job of creative sustainability graduates. Let's see if we can do it in 5 years. Was there any final question?
Hi, thank you very much. Excellent discussion and really, really nice topic. I'm coming a bit from a cynical end, and I'm really sorry about that. 10 years ago, I was in master's studies, and we were told that back then our job was to make yourself redundant. Design in a way that you create a system that anyone can start using it, and you no longer need it. And what happened, at least on IT, is we lost our jobs. Now what I'm seeing here is we're talking about things where we are putting a lot of pressure on making people take responsibility. I believe that we all should take responsibility, not just designers, every single person in the community, in the organization. My worry is that if this pressure is put on designers to do sustainability push voluntarily on their own time, with their own energy, without any, let's say, financial gains, we might develop burnouts and compassion fatigue, and eventually, if everything goes well, we will be designed out of our jobs. So I know this is a very cynical approach, but what would you say would be an answer to not go that direction, but in a better route?
Thank you. Who wants to take this?
I was thinking about this already when the first question was being asked, that about the design roles and related there, and I was thinking that the designers shouldn't have all the burden on themselves, because designers by definition facilitate teamwork and can make it tangible what we should be achieving. So maybe seeing ourselves more as a facilitators, helping everybody to chip in and do their part would be my answer how to approach this topic.
Yeah, at least luckily in my own team, I have a lot of engineers who are also passionate about these topics. So I guess it's not only designers who feel the pain for sustainability. So I would also say that, like you said, we shouldn't be the only ones who have the burden of sustainability, even though it's also an opportunity and a challenge. And I really like what Sauli said about facilitation. And then I guess I also would like to call for this like managerial aspects or this like leadership to take also their part into this. And at least in Helsinki, we of course have the targets so that we can argue for these solutions, and we have a strategy. So and I know that not all design companies and companies that have designers have these targets or these principles that designers could use. But if you do have them, then do use them. Use that backbone that your company or your organization has, and argue for sustainability on those grounds as well. So it can't be only you. It has to be facilitation, it has to be teamwork, but also those big commitments from companies and organizations here and globally.
Okay. Oh.
I just wanted to comment one thing, that I think that us designers, what is our job is to look ahead, look to the future, look at things that could be and yet are not, look at things that are already there but shouldn't be. So I think that it is sort of like an inherent thing that we always think about anyways. I think that that's why we are sort of natural leaders also to these things, not only to facilitate, but also because of our mindset, that we are already thinking ahead always, aren't we?
Of course, these topics we are discussing are systemic problems, and the pain we are feeling is collective pain. So we need to be careful not to carry collective things in our own individual shoulders without minding our own resources. So I find the community is a very key support system to help each other. So we need to come together, and that's why this is really, really important initiative, and thank you so much for that. There are many other initiatives going on. So building communities that can support each other, but also with a caring and compassionate way to ourselves, being mindful to our own resources, what we can do, how much we can invest, and how we can support each other is the way to go together to the future. And yeah, I'm really inspired today. I'm really hopeful that you came here. Thank you so much for the panelists for excellent discussions, and of course, you guys leading this manifesto, having the courage to put it out as the first draft and launching with such an event, and all of you being here, and Ornamo being the leader of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All your coming here and everybody, panelists, moderator, excellent. Very interesting, very inspiring indeed. Thank you, Ornamo Responsibility Circle, for your hard work. And of course, our Ornamo team, thank you very much. There's been communications and everything going on behind the scenes. And thank you, audience, for coming here. And also big thanks for the Helsinki City for providing us this venue and technical support. Thank you.